Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool. And I did a video a little bit ago on this Generation 2 Icon stubby ratchet, and I mentioned that there were a few others and that I'd get a hold of them and then let you know what I thought. And I've actually got the next 3 that have become available. So for the 1/4-inch drive ratchets, this represents all of them, I believe. So you've got a really long solid chrome, you've got a long with a comfort grip. You've got this locking flex head version here. You've got now one of the new ones, a little bit smaller. This is almost the same as the Snap-on in terms of the size here. And then also a chrome version, which is very similar to the Snap-on. This one's a flex head, I'll get to that. And then a little bit smaller one. Again, this is very similar to the Snap-on sized flex head, and then of course the stubby. Now before I go too much further, I wanted to mention this. I did the Tecton video the other day, and people were asking if the yokes were swappable on these two, because I said I would love to have maybe a socket driving yoke on a folding up socket or folding up ratchet like that. But anyway, if you compare these two, you can see that the smaller one is smaller, and by being smaller it's not going to fit. But that would be cool, or if they made a kind of a retro package that you could swap things out on. But anyway, I guess while I've got this, some people also asked about the port on the back. This is a 1/4 square, and others like this little Titan and this Vim here have the 1/4 hex. The question was, why not have a basically an end more like that on there, so you could just plug in your extensions. I'm not sure what the benefit of that would be, because this allows you not only a handle, but the ability, of course, to use this as a ratchet. And if you outfit this, say, with a bit driving or bit holder on the end, that's pretty slick right there. Or any of the custom bits, the specific bits, I guess, that you want. Or you could even do that. Now I've got both 3/8 and a 1/4-inch square. I don't know. There's all kinds of variables here. So I would like to see more in that direction, but I'll point you in a couple of other directions, at least for Harbor Freight here. So what do we have? We've got these total of 4 new generation ratchets. Now, I did a video where I had an issue with a rubber seal on one of these long ones, and before I got these, I played around with them, and this one, in the store you can kind of get a feel for how smooth that is. This one's actually got a lot of resistance, but the resistance feels like a rubber, rubber resistance. It's not hanging up on something, it's a tight but dampened feeling, whereas the others, are all quite smooth. But that one in particular has got just a weird feeling. It does not change as you rotate around the circle, and it doesn't change depending on the direction. It's like it's pushing on something. So I'm wondering if maybe they've got a seal issue that they just need to straighten out a little bit, because I literally don't, I might have a bunch of ratchets, and obviously then my statistical probability of getting a bum one is going up, but I don't have 10 of each one of these. This is the only one that I've got, and it's definitely feeling a lot of resistance. Now, I'm not picking on Icon, because look at these, and I haven't figured out what to do with this video yet. So I've got these 2 Snap-on ones here, and this is really smooth, and I can push down on this or lift up, and you hear that? It's nice and smooth, no problems. But this one, it's locked up. If I hold it in the center, it's fine. If I add some force, it's grinding, and in fact it gets, you hear that? It's locked at the, look at that. I have put a new kit in it. My Snap-on dealer suggested putting a new base plate here. I did that, a brand new one out of a kit. I even tried to put the innards from this Icon into here. It didn't work, but it is just stuck. So something is all messed up inside. So it's not the kit. I don't know. There's some tolerance that's not quite right. But anyway, back to the icons. So where to go from here? There are apparently some more icon ratchets that are going to be coming out in the Generation 2. But it comes nowhere near the total diversity of Snap-on ratchets. So here's a couple of ideas. It would be nice if Icon dabbled in maybe some of these locking, or quick release ratchets. They do come in handy. It would be something, just modify the head. So Snap-on's got this option in almost every single ratchet. This little push button thing here. And of course, push button flex heads. That would be nice too. Maybe even smaller flex heads. And in fact, you can go so far as to get a combination flex head or locking flex head and quick release. So that would be good. And while you're at it, you might as well make green. I think that would be outstanding if the icons came in green. Now, there is an icon swivel head like this in quarter. Well, how about a Gen 2, a nice smooth one? Just up the game a little bit, because there's plenty of need for a good swivel head ratchet in the Gen 2. What else? Well, how about a really long, these are kind of comparable here, but a long flex head. Not just straight. Especially, sometimes the straight can be a bit of a problem because it has to line up perfectly with the direction the socket is pointed. Perfect 90-degree angle, and sometimes that's a little tough to do. Same here. Take out your little chrome long one, and make a flex head. You can make flex heads. You've done it. And then, getting a locking flex head in a smaller size would just be ideal. You really want to go crazy, you do this with your Pittsburgh line. Why not your Gen 2 ratchet line? Go ahead and make one of these that's really quite nice to work with. So there's some possibilities. I'm glad they're pushing it. I hope that is not an issue with the Gen 2s as far as that seal. Little concerned, because that is a distinct tight feel. I might open it up and play with it, but I was going to see if it would bind up kind of like the other. And if they're you're really interested in stuff, how about this? You're paying attention, Harbor Freight. Why not make one of these nice ratcheting screwdrivers with interchangeable shafts? I know they're out there. You could even rebrand one, and then get into the 1/4-inch square world there. So if you're doing that, you might as well make one of these. Go directly after this icon of the Snap-on line, and that is the hard-handled ratcheting screwdriver. Shaft is fixed on these, at least from the factory. You can store some bits in the end, but that would really mark your commitment to kind of going after the spaces in the Snap-on world we know and love. Just saying. So if you tack the green, go into some of these guys. You probably already are. I'm not telling you something you don't know. But anyway, there's the other icon. If you haven't seen those guys, you want to see what the rest of them are like. Good solid ratchets. They are going up in price though. These are not cheap. So we're starting to pay a little bit more for a premium performance, even though it's at Harbor Freight. So I think they know what they're doing. But on the other hand, some of these Snap-ons are, just absolutely, like this guy here is almost $200, I think, for a locking flex head. Actually, I had one of these with a, with a quick release on it too. This guy here, that's just outrageous. This one's the one that's almost $200 for a 1/4 inch. However, I've got a Matco that's about $200 as well, or $190. Let me grab it and I'll show you while you're here. This guy here, one of these, I think this is $190, but it's got a fancy finish on it. So it's got this black, some kind of finish. I don't know if that's the FX finish. So that's what pushes it up maybe $10-15 more than the regular. But anyway, so there they are. I'll play around with them, let you know if I run into any issues, but overall, you know, it's pretty sweet. You're getting a really, really nice ratchet. It's affordable, but it's expensive. However you figure that, square that circle. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. And with that, Doc out.